So what I'm here today is to talk about one of the concerns you can have as an ISV when you choose to, or when you have to partner with a company that is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than you are, and think of the ISVs are building on top of Salesforce, on top of Google, on top of Amazon and the likes. That relationship is not always balanced, and you're always thinking, how am I going to avoid being made redundant? How am I going to avoid being eliminated if those guys are developing the same thing as I do? And obviously, I'm not aware of that. So I've been in that position. I've been in the little guy's position for pretty much all of my career. And I started actually my first company in 2000. We were building a search engine, kind of a crazy idea, going after Google. But Google at that time was not that big, so it sounded almost reasonable. So for a few years, we developed this new technology, this new search technology. But obviously, we didn't grow as fast as the other guys. And we realized that after like about 2005, 2006, that we had to shift to another market because there was no place to make any money in the B2C, in the web search market. So we kind of look at the technology. The technology was great. Look at the market. Where could we place ourselves in a position where the other guys are not even looking at this place? And in fact, at this time, there was absolutely almost no technology looking after the enterprise. So we moved from web search to enterprise search. We looked at, and we were actually one of the first database search engine. So complete change of strategy, moving to a place where the other guys were not. A few years after, we sell the technology to another company, start looking at other things to do, and kind of thinking, well, after 10 years competing against Google, let's see what we can do partnering with them, because they have this great platform, so what can we do on top of that? So that's when I created my current company, AODocs, with no real idea in mind in the beginning, but we're like, okay, let's look at the customers of Google, Google Apps, Google for Enterprise. We interview a few of them. We try to find where the gap is and what we can build, and quickly realize that there is a big desire around Google Drive to use it in enterprise, but there are some missing features that we can build. So we decide to go that direction. And it's kind of the second time we make almost the same mistake. Then that's the main thing I wanted to talk about today, is we were thinking in terms of what is this product doing that we can complement, and how we can improve what they're doing to bring to the market what the market thinks they're missing. And so we start in 2012, we build the product, and then a couple of years after starting, in our conversations with the Google product managers, we realized that obviously they're thinking that they can also implement the missing pieces in their product. So again, we're at risk of overlapping. So that's where we realized that we can't compete in the same space as they are. So we decide to build on a different level. And that's really the fundamental kind of thinking that led us to change the way we're thinking the products. Before that, so that's kind of the architecture we have today. And in the beginning, we were looking at just this layer. Okay, we have Google Drive here. They provide storage, collaboration, access, blah, blah, blah. And we want to extend that with additional features in terms of security. You can't win that kind of battle, because this product is always going to improve. They're going to add, they're going to talk to their product manager, they're going to understand what they're missing, and they're going to build. And that's what they did when they released Team Drive, which was announced a couple of weeks ago, with these enterprise features improved into their platform. So the way we changed our mindset was thinking not in terms of improving the product, what can we do in terms of missing features, but how we can build on top of the product. So we started looking at Google not as a thing that we can improve, but rather as a platform on top of which we can build. And that's where you can really create those mutually positive relationship, because instead of trying to add stuff to something that will continually grow, you build on top of it. And what we've done with AODocs is allowing Google Drive to go into markets that they are not addressing today, some things that they see as a niche, and which are large enough markets that we can address. So for example, going one step back, what is Google's main concern? Their goal, the mission statement of Google is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. So they're looking after the billion users application. Google Drive has about 800 million active users. Gmail has more than 1 billion users, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that's less than 1 billion users is not interesting for them. But to us, as ISVs building on top of them, there are lots of sub-markets that are, yes, smaller than 1 billion users, and yet very profitable. So in our case, we've targeted the enterprise users who need the control and organization of the processes in their businesses. So we have built solutions for IT, for legal, for HR, operations, marketing, different verticals. And in each of those areas which Google considers too small to invest directly in, we've built the features and the platform that help them be successful in their business. So in particular, we help companies be compliant with regulation, implement business processes, improve the onboarding of their employees, all of those things that are heavily relying on the Google Drive infrastructure, so documents, collaboration, storage, and so on, but on a completely different level from a business point of view. So that's where the win-win relationship comes in. Anytime Google will improve their platform, we can benefit from it, but there's no danger of overlapping because they are building at an infrastructure level. They're improving the performance. They're improving the feature, but always looking at feature that will serve all of their user base, while we leverage those characteristics to improve our business functions. So so going back to this concept, and I think that was mentioned in one of the keynotes this morning, you want to find the ideal market is something that looks like a niche to your partner, but that's big enough for you. And being in a position where you can be almost in a monopoly situation in a niche is extremely comfortable as an ISV. If I look at the broader market, as AODocs as a document management platform versus other document management platform, think like Alfresco, Documentum, SharePoint, and the likes, where we're kind of the small players in that space. But because we're built on top of the Google platform, that gives us a uniqueness that is extremely appealing to customers using the G Suite application. So here again is kind of a reverse thing from what I said just before. We selected something that is a niche as being seen by other document management platforms. We want to build only on G Suite, only for G Suite. So, and G Suite obviously doesn't have 100% market share. Maybe they have 10, a little bit over 10% market share. So why would I, as an ISV, restrict myself to 10% of the market? It's kind of stupid. Yes, no, maybe not so much, because by playing in this 10% of the global market, when I'm competing head-to-head with companies much bigger than us, that the traditional document management software, we have a uniqueness, this tight integration with G Suite, that almost eliminates competition. So by carefully selecting the niche in which we're playing, we're kind of winning in two areas. One, we eliminate the overlap with Google. There is little chance that they are going to build something that does exactly the same as we do, because from their point of view, we are addressing a market that is too small to be worthy of their interest and focus. And we're also, from the bigger competitors, the traditional document management market, we also selected a niche, the G Suite market, that is much too small for their interest. And then in the intersection of those two areas, we still have a space big enough for us to grow twofold, threefold every year for a few years and be extremely successful, almost in a monopolistic situation. So what are the biggest lessons we take from that? I think the first and foremost, when you're considering a platform to partner with and to build on, you don't want to be just a missing piece. Because if you look at, let's say, you want to build on top of Salesforce. You go to forums, you look online, and lots of people are complaining that Salesforce is missing the feature ABCD, right? So you decide to build an application that does exactly ABCD. And for the first month, everybody's happy. Oh my God, at last we get feature ABCD on top of Salesforce, great product. And guess what? 1 year after, Salesforce releases their own version of ABCD, and you're dead. So this missing feature, if you see it, you can be sure that the product managers of the platform, they see it as well. Maybe they're slower than you to develop it because they're a big company and you're a small startup, but eventually they will catch up with you. So the only way you can be successful and avoid being either eaten or made redundant is to play on a different level. And this concept of different level has been extremely well described in a blog post. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. It's called the stack fallacy. The idea of the stack fallacy, which is kind of illustrated here, is that when you build at a certain level, let's say you're Intel, you're doing microprocessors. And seen from Intel, anything that runs on those microprocessors is kind of an application of what they're doing, right? Kind of the same as the math guy that says, oh, physics is just apply mathematics, chemistry is just apply physics, and so on. Kind of the same idea here. And yet Intel is not really good at building applications. So they consider that it should be simple because they've done the hard job, they've done the hardware, and now you just have to do some instructions on the hardware, but yet they can't do it because it requires a different thinking. Then if you move one step up the stack, you have Oracle. They're doing databases, right? And from Oracle's point of view, anything that runs on top of the database is something simple, right? CRM, yeah, easy. It's just a database application. And yet, Oracle has never been able to do their own CRM. They have acquired CRM companies, but they haven't built one themselves. And so on as you move up the stack. So it's the same concept, again, with Salesforce or Google or whatnot, kind of the previous stack I was showing. To Google, Google's doing storage, they're doing collaboration tools, they're doing security infrastructure and so on. To them, yeah, document management is just an application. And yet, they're never going to do it because this plays in a space, enterprise, business constraints, compliance, that they're not looking at from their level. So if you change level, that's how you build those win-win relationship where you will allow your underlying platform to penetrate different markets, to extend their footprint, to extend their stickiness, and at the same time not be in competition with the improvements that they are building themselves on their platform. So so that was my main message. A few more words about the company. So we've been created in 2012. With this, so like I said, in the first 2 years, we were a little bit too close to the infrastructure. But since we moved to this new level, we had very nice exponential growth, about 100% growth since 2014. And incidentally, And I think that's the best proof that we have succeeded in playing in this different level is that Google themselves are using our product on top of their own collaboration suite. I think that's about it. So thank you. If you have any question. And no, one more thing I wanted to mention. So as kind of unrelated, but like I said, I've been working all of my life either in competition with or on top of Google. I'm a strong believer in this platform. So if any of you as ISVs want a strong opinion as to selecting the right platform to build on, I'll be happy to have side discussions with you guys.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions? Good job, by the way.
Sorry, I came in a little late, but I didn't really understand your point about working on a different level than what the large platform would be. Is that do something more expansive than that they would ever do, or can you expand on that a little bit?
It's not a question of expensive. You can build something really simple, but that's not overlapping with the platform itself. My main point is that you want to make the distinction between improving their product or building on top of the product. And the sort of litmus test that you can use for that is, am I sure that whatever my partner is adding to their platform will benefit me? Or is there something that I don't want them to develop because otherwise my product becomes irrelevant? So I use the example of Salesforce. Like let's imagine, or you build a new report, a new dashboard, a new thing on top of Salesforce. I mean, there's 50% chance that they're going to build it themselves because this feature will benefit all of their customers. On the opposite, what I call building on a different level is that if you build, let's say, an application for accountants that is very specialized for solving one business problem for accountants, and is using Salesforce as a backend because it avoids you to redevelop, to reinvent the wheel, basically. While there is little chance that Salesforce is going to release a product specifically for this customer base, because it's not their audience. I mean, it's maybe 1% of their audience, or it's kind of, the accountants are using Salesforce themselves, but Salesforce has no interest in going into this market. So that's what I call working on different levels. It's thinking in terms of business, kind of find your niche, basically. What looks like a niche from Salesforce point of view, and it's not a niche for you because it's a market big enough that you can strive in.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you. Oh, that's one.
How responsive, or how big did you guys get before Google was sort of responsive to or open to sort of working together or sharing, really having a conversation with you?
Oh, it went very, very early. I think the first contacts we had with Google in terms of partner program were in 2013. And it was not because we became big enough, it was because Google was starting to open their partnership program. So, and I think that's to elaborate on that. What made us visible to Google was not only the fact that we became successful and we had enough customers or whatever, it was also the fact that we were investing in their technology. So, and I think that's true for other partners as well, is the product managers of those big companies are extremely interested in having ISVs willing to test their new things. They release a new API, they release a new feature, they want beta testers, they want early adopters, so if you're in those programs, that will make you extremely visible to them, even if you're very small. I've seen Google involve in their partnership program companies with 2, 3, 5 people. It doesn't matter, as long as if they are seeing you as willing to invest in their API to build on top of their platform, you will be visible to them.
Thanks. That was a great presentation. Can you talk maybe a little bit about any co-marketing or just collaboration you guys are doing to promote your services and how, getting the word out there, whether it's joint training, I don't know, incentives, etc.
Yeah, great question. So part of it is what I was just saying to the previous response. If you're first to use a new API, for example, Google has released an API last year to create slide presentations, and we were a beta tester of the slide presentation. And so when they made the announcement to launch this new API, we're mentioned as one of the first to build an integration on top of that. So that's kind of free marketing. Each time you can leverage those new things, being a launch partner is a great way to get free marketing, because you will use them as kind of an aircraft carrier for you to promote you. Generally speaking, integrating with other apps, like we just announced a partnership with DocuSign. I mean, fantastic PR thing. Again, free marketing, cross blog post. Then we send a promotion campaign to our customer base. We offer 20% discount on new DocuSign licenses. To DocuSign customer base, they offer 20% discount on AODocs. Kind of, boom. Same thing, kind of free marketing. You exchange your... So find other ISVs who are complementary to you, no risk of competition, and who have interest to share their contacts with you, and then you send that to their customer base, to your customer base, and so on. Anytime you can integrate with someone else is free marketing, basically.